Yeah, it was a really difficult task. I think if I had my way, I probably would have selected the 23 before we head into Toronto, and it's very clean all the way through. But I think that's a good problem to have, in the sense of trying to decide that CONCACAF 23 is really, really difficult. And so I felt I needed the Toronto leg to, assess some players. We'll play an inter squad internally where, I think Arnold Clark Cup, the level of opposition, then the Nigeria series where, that second game probably didn't go in the direction I would have liked. And so some players haven't really truly been assessed in this environment yet. And so I felt we needed that. In terms of Erin McLeod, Erin hasn't retired, but she's definitely, collectively we made that decision around focusing on club. And doing that, she's been getting incredible minutes, which is fantastic. But I think, being away from club and cementing that spot and really pushing at that level, and who knows, that might result in a recall around, more than just fighting for that number 2-3 spot. So that was a collaborative discussion, but I think it's exciting we get to bring in 2 youth goalkeepers who've had an incredible showing at youth level. And then Bianca St. George, she's back in. She's had an incredible season at NWSL as well. I got to watch her live in San Diego, and she was fantastic. So, it's difficult. We got to get 23, and that's the task we've got ahead of us. Yeah, I think it's been sort of well documented that I think Kaylin has been listed as the number 1. She's had an incredible season, but so has Sabrina. But I think at this stage, going into this tournament, that number 1 would sit with Kaylin. But, at the same time, every player has to earn the right to start. And I've been very big on that in the whole time I've been in. Players haven't started that maybe would be expected to. So I don't want to shut the door on anyone pushing Kaylin. But what I would say is Kaylin, for me, has had an incredible season and has been very consistent in our environment. Yeah, I think it's a really good reality check, probably in the last 7 days, that, the NWSL schedule, heavy schedule, lots of travel, is probably taking its toll with those NWSL players. And so, those players that you've listed aren't necessarily injury prone either. So for us, we've just got to be really careful in the first part of our camp not to overcook the players who've had a congested schedule and really push the European players who have been out of season. And that's going to be the balancing act. And we have to look at the entirety of the tournament so that when it really matters, these players, aren't carrying too much. So what I would say is there's nothing where you're questioning whether those players would be available in the 23 ready to kick off the tournament. And we are gathering some more information on those that were new at the weekend. But at this stage, I'm not overly concerned with the bigger picture heading into the summer. I don't know all the details. And I think when you're heading into a major tournament as a coach, it's always a fine line. You work for an organization, you got a group of players who want to run through a brick wall for you. But at the same time, for me, I'll be incredibly proud to work for an organization that's pushing for true equality. I think the players deserve it. It's right. And, all signs are leading that way. So for me, I fully support true equality. And I'll be really, really proud to work for an organisation that manages to achieve that. And so I'm in support of both the organisation and the players, because I think both want that direction. Yeah, I think it would be short-sighted of me to take players that I don't think can make it to that World Cup. And so I've always got that in the back of my mind. But at the same time, you're right, we have to get there and we have to be able to perform now. And I think particularly when you've got younger players who maybe haven't had as many minutes and all these sorts of things, it's the balance of potential versus performance. And I think when you're going into a major tournament, I very much approach the Olympics like that with I'm going to pick a team that can win now. I have to do that. And I also have to invest in some players that I think can get us there in 2023 and help us do well at that World Cup. So it's a real balancing act, but I can't see myself taking a player this summer who I don't see that can get us to the 2023 World Cup and do well. For me, you look at the last window. The last window, I think, told everyone out there that this team needs Christine Sinclair. She comes on as a finisher, first time as a finisher for me. How will she react to that role? Well, it took her, I don't know, what was it, 2-3 minutes and she goes and scores. So absolutely, I think we've got a very young, fresh, new face squad, some players with massive experience. It'll be Jessie Fleming's 100th cap in Toronto. At the age of, and she's got trophies around her neck and medals around her neck. But at the same time, these players are still performing. And for me, that's all that matters. Yeah, I think Korea, obviously they qualified for the World Cup. They're a tactically adaptable team from what I've seen. So they'll change formations in the game, which will be great for us, great experience heading into a tournament setting. I think we, in many ways we have to focus on us at that point, see the bigger picture of where we're heading. But for me, it'll be about partnerships and getting a rhythm and a flow before we head into what is a critical tournament for us. And so, we decided, we made the choice to only play one fixture in this window because I knew the selection of the squad and in inter-squad and things were important to prepare us for CONCACAF. And then a test against a Korea that, has G, who plays for Chelsea, for example, in the midfield. It has some really good players, but also tactically adaptable. So it'll be a tough game, as every game now, I think, internationally in the women's game is. And it'll give us a great preparation heading into the summer. Yeah, I'm actually really excited to see them come in. For example, I can't ignore Evelyn Viennes' goal scoring ability that you're seeing in that league. Evelyn was on fire before the Olympic Games and then went back to the NWSL, wasn't playing much. And I think when you're a number 9 that looks to score goals and you're not getting that sort of the minutes and the goals, I think it started to show in our environment. So I'm excited. She's making a real push, from afar. I'm watching, and she has goal scoring ability standing out. Sarah Strategakis, I think we can already see the impact of playing professionally and the step up from NCAA. She's doing great. And then Gabby, she's playing wide of a back 3, which will be different than what she would play for us. So it'll be interesting to see how she comes in with that. But they're all doing fantastically. And I think it just shows the level now from NCAA into professional soccer, the difference it makes for players. So I'm happy they've had a great number of minutes coming in. That's going to put them in a great position to be selected for the summer. Yeah, I think firstly, I think the grueling 7-day with 1-day turnarounds that we've seen of both 17s and 20s, you can see it takes its toll. And so in terms of my assessment of players, it's really difficult because it ends up being the fittest player wins in many ways. So I think both going to a World Cup, getting exposure against top quality opposition will allow me to actually assess them, because I felt in the Mexico-US games, by the time they got there, that you weren't assessing a fresh player and a fresh team. So I think, for both of our youth teams, I think it's the first time since 2016 for both to be in a Youth World Cup after being dormant in COVID. For me, speaks volumes to the talent we've got coming through compared to maybe some counterparts that have had a lot of youth activity and still do compared to us. So yeah, I'm over the moon that both are going to be at the World Cup. And then, yeah, there was definitely potential in that group. There's, probably 4 or 5 that you go, you can see, and until you see them against great opposition, obviously it's difficult. But what I will say is a couple of them players, 20s and 17s that are Toronto based will come in and feature a little bit in our inter-squad to help us manage some minutes. So again, I'll get to see them in that environment, because I think as a programme, we've always been leading in investing in youth players, and anyone that's good enough and can make a push. I mean, what a great opportunity for them, in both that inter-squad, but also bigger picture in the World Cup. Yeah, I think, what we've seen from Vanessa, every time there's a free kick or a corner, she's a threat. The tackles, I think the nature of that league actually lends itself to Vanessa probably bringing her best attributes, which is emergency defending, putting her body on the line. But I also think what you're starting to see from Vanessa is her attacking play, that she can also help build up the attack. So really thrilled that she's enjoying herself. She's at a great club. They're getting a massive following week in, week out, which is dealing with pressure, which for someone so, I guess you could say, new in their international career, it doesn't feel like it, but she is. That's only going to help her in the long run. So it doesn't surprise me. And I'm excited to see how she comes into this summer.